Ayahuasca contains a powerful chemical called dimethyltryptamine, which when smoked on its own is a short-acting psychedelic that can produce these profound hallucinations and these wildly unique altered states of consciousness. DMT is sometimes referred to as the spirit molecule because many users describe encounters with otherworldly beings, mystical realms, and a sense of connection with a higher or spiritual dimension. Take that as you may, but one common thread between people who have experienced DMT is this intense reflection on their own lives and the nature of reality. Not only is DMT found in hundreds of different plants, but we now know that it's also produced in trace amounts in the human body. Now, normally when you hear somebody talking about drinking ayahuasca, what they're referring to is a concoction of two different plants that are found in the Amazon jungle. One of these plants actually contains DMT, and the other, what is sometimes referred to as the ayahuasca vine, contains another chemical that prevents the DMT from being destroyed by your gut. It's a huge mystery as to how indigenous groups across what are now multiple countries settled on these two specific plants out of the tens of thousands found in the Amazon. Anyways, when you brew these two plants together, you get this thick, dark, sour, salty, briny, molassesy liquid that's served in a small cup and that you chug down in one reluctant gulp. Consuming DMT this way means that it's no longer short-acting, like I mentioned earlier. Once you drink the ayahuasca brew, you have about 40 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours, before you start noticing any effects. Usually the first signs that it's working are an uneasy feeling in the body, a loosening or changing of your thoughts, and just generally a woozy kind of sensation. As things start to progress, some people see these colorful visuals, while others, like myself, hardly ever have any visuals, but instead go really deep into whatever sensations they're feeling in their bodies, as well as any topics or ideas that pop up into their awareness. But it's important to remember that every single person is different. Every ceremony is different, and sometimes even every single phase of a single night can be different as well. Now, I'll go through in detail what actually happens during an ayahuasca ceremony in a future video. But in general, the whole experience lasts for about 4 to 8 hours. It also comes in varying waves of intensity, sometimes feeling like it's wearing off before coming back really strong. Now, at its most intense points, people often do what is referred to as purging. Now, most people think of purging as simply vomiting or needing to use the toilet. But from my experience, purging can really be any kind of emotional or physical release. And honestly, after several ceremonies, I've hardly ever vomited, particularly because you're supposed to be fasting several hours before drinking ayahuasca. And so there really isn't that much in your stomach to throw up anyways. I usually get extremely bloated and there's a lot of pressure buildup in my stomach. And so purging, for me, usually just involves a lot of burping. But I also find myself shaking profusely, yawning these really big yawns, crying, even though I'm not thinking about anything sad, and this desire to want to stretch my hands, my feet, and even my face. The cultures that work with ayahuasca believe that all of this is a way for someone to release negative energy, trauma, pain, or bad spirits. Because of this, vomiting or purging in any way is not only seen as a good thing, but a necessary part of the whole process. Personally, I would notice that I would have these intense moments of purging every time I was thinking really deeply about something emotionally difficult. After my first ceremony, in which all I did was feel uncomfortable and sit in the restroom for hours and hours on end, I had this really strong message come to me that was saying, look, you want to deal with some really deep stuff, but we can't even get there unless we first work to scrub away all of the stuff on the surface. All of the insecurity, all of the doubt, all of the pessimism, all of the BS. All of the purging that first night was getting rid of all the junk that had accumulated in my psyche. And I think it was necessary in order to be more open and to go deeper in the following nights. Now again, the choice to lean into these spiritual explanations for what's happening is totally up to you, but one thing that is true is that most people feel this immense sense of relief after they've purged. But what is actually happening chemically in the body and the brain when drinking ayahuasca. The exact mechanisms and pathways through which ayahuasca acts are still being studied, but it's believed that DMT in ayahuasca passes through the blood-brain barrier and triggers a cascade of neurochemical events. Among those events is an increased release of serotonin in the brain, serotonin being a neurotransmitter that regulates mood, emotions, and perception. Now, this may be what contributes to the profound emotional experiences, feelings of interconnectedness, and deep introspection that many people report. Next, ever hear of your brain's default mode network? This is a network of regions in the brain that are associated with self-referential thinking, mind-wandering, and ego-centered thoughts. By dampening or suppressing this activity, ayahuasca may promote a sense of ego dissolution, basically loosening your grip on who you think you are, feelings of unity with others and even the universe, and a general shift in perspectives. Also, through brain scans, ayahuasca has been found to increase connectivity between different regions of the brain. This may be what facilitates novel insights, synesthetic experiences, such as hearing colors or seeing sounds, and a sense of making connections between various aspects of yourself or your life that you never thought were connected before. It's suggested that this enhances neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to reorganize and form new neural connections. And similar to before, this may be what contributes to the intensely introspective experiences, heightened perception, and expanded awareness that people report on ayahuasca. But it's very important to point out that the overall experience of ayahuasca is not solely determined by these neurochemical changes. Factors such as your current state of mind, the actual physical setting of where you're drinking ayahuasca, the food or substances you've been consuming for the prior weeks, the intentions that you bring, the cultural and ceremonial context that you're participating in, and the people around you, both those that are drinking with you as well as those that are facilitating the event and making sure that you're safe and cared for, all play a huge role in your ayahuasca experience. At the end of the day, ayahuasca is such a fascinating substance. Whether you're interested in the hard science, the spiritual context, or just the very deeply introspective nature of it. In the next video, I'm going to talk about what exactly takes place during an ayahuasca ceremony. But until then, if you liked this one, please consider hitting the thanks button below the video in order to help me continue growing this channel and making videos about traveling the world as a way of becoming a better person.